Katie Martinez first saw the alien woman on Monday morning while buying her usual black coffee at the corner shop. The woman stood across the street next to the bus stop, but she was not waiting for any bus. Her skin had a blue tint, like the deep ocean, and her eyes were twice the size of human eyes. Those eyes never looked away from Katie. The alien woman wore human clothes, but they fit wrong on her tall, thin body. Her purple hair moved on its own, floating and swaying even though there was no wind. Katie tried to ignore her and walked quickly to her job at the bookstore. She told herself it was nothing. Aliens had been on Earth for 5 years now. Seeing one was not unusual. But when Katie left work that evening, the alien woman was there, again. This time she stood outside the bookstore pretending to look at the window display. Katie could see her reflection in the glass. Those huge eyes still watched her. The woman made no effort to hide what she was doing. Tuesday was worse. Katie saw the blue woman at the grocery store in the morning. She stood by the apples while Katie bought milk. At lunch, the alien sat 3 tables away in the park where Katie ate her sandwich. That night, Katie found her standing outside her apartment building, just standing there in the shadows. Katie ran up the stairs to her small apartment and locked the door. She looked out the window and saw the alien woman still there, looking up at her window. Katie closed the curtains and tried to calm her racing heart. She thought about calling the police, but what would she say? An alien was looking at her. That was not illegal. Wednesday brought no relief. The alien woman followed Katie to the gym. She took the treadmill right behind Katie and walked, slowly, never breaking a sweat, never looking tired, just watching. When Katie went to the library after work, the woman sat 2 tables away. She held a book, but Katie noticed she held it upside down and never turned a single page. By Thursday, Katie could not take it anymore. She had not slept well in 3 nights. Every time she looked out her window, the alien woman was there. Sometimes standing, sometimes sitting on the bench, but always watching, always waiting. Katie decided she had to know what this creature wanted from her. That evening, Katie did not go straight home. Instead, she walked to the small park near her apartment. The alien woman followed, as Katie knew she would. When they reached the empty park, Katie turned around suddenly. The alien woman stopped just 10 feet away. Katie spoke first, her voice shaking. "What do you want from me?" she asked. "Why are you following me?" The alien woman tilted her head like a curious bird. Her voice when she spoke sounded like music, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "My name is Vera," she said. "I am from the Andromeda system. You no harm." "Katie Martinez." "How do you know my name?" Katie asked, taking a step back. Vera moved closer, but slowly, like someone approaching a scared animal. "I know many things about you," she said. "I know your grandmother, Maria Martinez, died last year. I know you still talk to her plants because you promised her you would. I know you dream of places you have never seen." Katie felt cold fear run through her body. How could this alien know such personal things? She thought about running, but her legs would not move. "Please do not fear me," Vera said. "I have traveled very far to find you, Katie Martinez. You are special, though you do not know it. Yet." Katie laughed, but it sounded harsh. "I am not special," she said. "I work in a bookstore. I live alone. I can barely pay my rent. There is nothing special about me." "You are wrong," Vera said. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, glowing crystal. When she held it up, images appeared in the air between them. Katie saw a planet with purple skies and silver oceans. She saw cities made of glass and beings like Vera walking through them. But then the images changed. The cities crumbled. The beings grew weak and fell. The oceans dried up. "This is my world," Vera said sadly. "We are dying. Our planet's core is failing and we cannot fix it. We have searched the entire galaxy for help. We found records of someone who visited Earth long ago, someone from our world who might have left behind the key to our salvation." Katie watched the images fade away. She did not understand what any of this had to do with her. "I am sorry about your world," she said, "but I cannot help you. I am just a human." Vera smiled, and it was both beautiful and sad. You are not just human, Katie Martinez. Your grandmother was not just human either. The words hit Katie like a physical blow. She stepped back, shaking her head. That is impossible, she said. My grandmother was born in Mexico. She lived here all her life. Vera pulled out another device, this one flat and smooth like glass. She held it toward Katie and it began to glow. Your genetic pattern, she said. It shows markers that are not from Earth. Your grandmother was half Andromedan. She came here 70 years ago. Katie wanted to deny it, but memories flooded her mind. Her grandmother speaking to plants and claiming they answered. Her grandmother looking at the stars with such longing. Her grandmother knowing things before they happened. The strange purple dreams Katie had been having since her grandmother died. No, Katie whispered. This cannot be true. Vera stepped closer, her large eyes full of sympathy. Katie felt her legs grow weak and she sat down hard on the park bench. Vera sat beside her, keeping a respectful distance. The evening sun was setting, and normal people walked by with their dogs and children, not knowing that Katie was learning her whole life had been built on lies. Tell me everything, Katie said, her voice barely a whisper. Tell me about my grandmother. Vera nodded and touched the crystal again. New images appeared in the air, showing a young woman who looked like Katie but with purple eyes. She stood next to a tall alien man with blue skin like Vera. They were smiling and holding hands. Your grandmother was born Zara on my planet. Vera explained. She was a scientist studying other worlds. She came to Earth on a research mission, but she fell in love with your grandfather Carlos Martinez. Love was not part of her plan, but it happened. Katie watched the images change, showing her grandparents getting married in a small church. Her grandmother looked completely human now. Her purple eyes had turned brown. Her skin had lost its blue tint. Our species can change. Vera said, we can adapt to look like the beings around us. Your grandmother chose to become human to stay with Carlos. She gave up everything, her world, her people, her long lifespan. We live for 300 years, Katie. But as a human, she would only live for 80. Why, Katie asked, tears running down her face. Why would she give up so much for love? Vera said simply. And for something else. She was pregnant with your mother. The child would be part of both worlds. Your grandmother knew this child and her children would be special. Katie thought of her mother who had died in a car accident when Katie was 10. Her mother had been normal. Or so Katie had thought. Now she wondered what secrets had died with her. But your grandmother did something before she changed completely. Vera continued. She stored some of her original DNA in a special vault on our world. She knew that one day we might need it. She was right. Our planet began dying 20 years ago. We have tried everything to save it. Then we remembered Zara and her stored DNA. Katie looked at the alien woman. What does this have to do with me? She asked. Vera smiled sadly. You carry her DNA, Katie, but more than that, you carry a unique combination. Your grandmother was Andromedan. Your grandfather was human. And somewhere in that mix, something special happened. You produce an enzyme that we cannot make anymore. It is the same enzyme that keeps our planet's core stable. Without it, our world dies. Katie stood up and walked a few steps away. This was too much to process yesterday. She was nobody special. Today she was part alien, and apparently the key to saving an entire planet. How do you know I have this enzyme? Katie asked. Vera pointed to the floating images. Look at your plants, Katie, the ones your grandmother left you. They should have died months ago, but they grow stronger every day. You water them, and they respond to something in you. Look at how animals react to you. They sense what you are. Katie could not deny this. Dogs always loved her immediately. Birds would land near her without fear. The plants her grandmother left behind grew like crazy, even though Katie had no gardening skill. What do you want from me? Katie asked finally. Just a small sample of your blood, Vera said. With it, we can synthesize the enzyme in large amounts. We can save our world. You will save billions of lives. And if I say no, Katie asked. Vera looked down at her strange hands with their extra joints. Then my people die, she said simply. I will not force you, Katie Martinez. I will not hurt you or threaten you. If you say no, I will leave and never bother you again. But I hope you will not say no, Katie. Walked back to the bench and sat down. She thought of her grandmother who had given up everything for love. She thought of a dying world full of beings like Vera. She thought of how her grandmother always told her that family was more than blood. It was about connection and love. These beings on your planet, Katie said. They are my family too, are they not? If my grandmother was one of them, then they are my people. Vera nodded, her large eyes growing bright. Yes, she said. Your grandmother has a sister still alive. She is 190 years old. She speaks of Zara often. She mourns her choice but respects it. Katie felt something shift inside her chest, like a door opening that had been locked her whole life. She looked at her hands, and for a moment she could swear she saw a faint blue tint under her skin. There is more, Vera said. Your grandmother did not just leave DNA. She left a message for you. The crystal glowed brighter, and Katie saw her grandmother, but not as she remembered. This was her grandmother as Zara with purple eyes and blue skin. She was beautiful in an otherworldly way. She spoke, and though the language was not English, Katie understood every word. My dear granddaughter, the message said, if you are seeing this, then our world needs help and you are old enough to understand who you are. I left you more than plants and memories. I left you a bridge between two worlds. You are human and Andromedan. You belong to Earth and to the stars. I know this is a heavy burden, but you are strong enough to carry it. Save them, Katie. Save our people, and in doing so you will find parts of yourself you never knew existed. The message ended, and Katie sat in silence for a long moment. The park was almost empty now. The sun had set, and stars were beginning to appear in the sky. For the first time, Katie looked at them and felt a pull toward one particular star. That is our sun, Vera said, following her gaze. Your grandmother's son. Your son too, if you choose it. Katie rolled up her sleeve and held out her arm. Do it, she said. Take what you need. Vera pulled out a small device that looked like silver water. The device touched Katie's arm and she felt nothing at first. Then warmth spread through her body like drinking hot chocolate on a cold day. The device filled with her blood, but the blood was not completely red. It had swirls of purple and silver, dancing through it like tiny galaxies. Vera gasped when she saw it. Your transformation has already begun, she said. You are awakening to your true nature. Katie watched her blood swirl in the container, feeling strange, but not afraid. She felt powerful, like something that had been sleeping inside her for 28 years was finally waking up. Her vision sharpened and she could see colors she had no names for. The world looked different, more alive, more connected. Thank you, Vera said, holding the container carefully. This will save everyone. But Katie, there is something else I must tell you. Katie stood up and noticed she was taller, or maybe she was floating slightly off the ground. She looked down and saw her feet were indeed an inch above the grass. What is happening to me, she asked. Giving your blood has activated your dormant genes, Vera explained. You are becoming what you were always meant to be. Not fully human, not fully Andromedan, but something new. Something special, Katie felt, her hair move on its own like Vera's did. She caught her reflection in Vera's crystal device and saw her brown eyes now had flecks of purple in them. Her skin seemed to glow faintly in the darkness. Your grandmother suppressed these changes in herself, and in your mother, Vera said. But now that you have accepted your heritage, you cannot be suppressed anymore. You are free to be who you truly are. Katie felt scared and excited at the same time. Will I still be me, she asked. Will I still be able to live here on Earth? You will always be you, Vera assured her, and you can live wherever you choose. But now you have options. You can visit our world. You can meet your family there. You can learn about your powers. Powers? Katie asked. Vera smiled and pointed. to a dying tree nearby. "Touch it," she said. Katie walked over and placed her hand on the rough bark. Immediately she felt the tree's pain, its thirst, its struggle to survive. Without thinking, she pushed something from herself into the tree. It was like sharing her own life force. The tree's leaves turned green, its branches straightened, it bloomed with flowers. Even though it was autumn, "You carry life itself," Vera said. "Your enzyme does not just save planets. It heals, it restores, it creates. This is why you are so special, Katie. You are a bridge between death and life." Katie stared at her hands, then at the blooming tree. She thought of all the times she had felt different, alone, like she did not belong anywhere. Now she understood why she was meant to be different. She was meant to be more. "When do you leave?" Katie asked, looking at Vera. "Tonight," Vera said. "I must bring this sample to our scientists immediately. They will begin synthesizing the enzyme right away. Every moment counts as more of our people grow weak." Katie felt sadness at the thought of Vera leaving. She had been afraid of this alien woman for days, but now she felt like she was losing a friend, perhaps the only person who truly understood what she was. "But this is not goodbye," Vera continued. She pulled out a small star-shaped pendant that swirled with those impossible colors Katie was learning to see. "This is a quantum communicator. When you hold it and think of us, we will hear you. When you are ready to visit your other home, hold it and say the word Zara. We will come for you." Katie took the pendant and felt it pulse with warmth against her skin. "How long before your planet is healed?" she asked. "With your enzyme?" "Perhaps 6 months," Vera said. "But Katie, you should know something. Your grandfather Carlos is still alive. He lives in Mexico City. He never remarried after your grandmother died. He knows what she was and what you are. He has been waiting for you to discover the truth." Katie felt her heart skip. Carlos was her mother's father. She had not seen him in years. Her mother had said he was too sad after grandmother died, that he needed space. Now Katie understood his sadness was not just for a dead wife, but for a love that transcended worlds. "Go to him. Vera advised he has stories to tell you. He has things your grandmother left for you, and he has been very lonely knowing the truth but having no one to share it with." Katie nodded, feeling tears on her cheeks again. She had cried more today than in the past year, but these were not sad tears anymore. They were tears of understanding, of connection, of finding her place in the universe. Vera stood and began to walk away, then turned back. "One more thing," she said. "Your grandmother's sister. Her name is Lyra. She asks if you would consider taking the name Zara as your middle name, to honor your grandmother and to mark you as part of our family. Katie Martinez." "Zara Martinez," Katie said, trying it out. "It sounds right. It sounds like me." Vera smiled, and her whole being seemed to light up with joy. "Then welcome to the family. Katie Zara Martinez. You are the daughter of 2 worlds, the savior of one, and the hope of both." As Vera walked away, she began to shimmer and fade, not walking to a ship, but simply dissolving into particles of light that drifted up toward the stars. Katie understood now that Vera had never needed a ship. She was advanced in ways humans could not imagine, and Katie was part of that advancement. Katie stood alone in the park, but she did not feel alone anymore. She felt the connection to billions of beings in another galaxy. She felt her grandmother's presence in the stars. She felt her grandfather waiting in Mexico. She felt the plants around her singing with life. She looked at her hands and saw they were glowing faintly with that blue tint. She touched another dying plant and watched it burst into bloom. She laughed, and the sound was like music, like wind chimes, like her grandmother's laugh. Tomorrow she would go to Mexico. Tomorrow she would find her grandfather. Tomorrow she would begin learning what it meant to be Katie Zara Martinez. Tomorrow her real life would begin. But tonight she stood under the stars and felt them calling to her. She held the pendant and whispered, "I am coming home, not yet." But soon she would help heal a dying world. She would meet family she never knew existed. She would become the bridge her grandmother always knew she could be. The alien woman had stalked her for days and changed everything. Katie did not sleep that night after Vera left. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw purple skies and silver oceans. Her body hummed with energy, like electricity running through her veins. She got up and looked in the mirror. Her brown eyes now had purple rings around them. Her skin seemed to pulse with a soft blue light that came and went like breathing. She packed a small bag with clothes and the few things that mattered to her. The plants her grandmother left behind seemed to reach toward her as she moved through the apartment. She touched each one and whispered, "I will come back for you." The plants glowed brighter, as if they understood at dawn. Katie walked to her job at the bookstore. She needed to quit but did not know how to explain. She could not say, "I am part alien and must go to Mexico to meet my grandfather who knows the truth about our family." The manager, Lisa, was arranging new books when Katie walked in. Lisa looked up and dropped the book she was holding. Katie. She gasped, "What happened to you?" "You look different." Katie tried to think of a lie but found she could not. Her new nature made deception feel wrong, like trying to breathe underwater. "I have to leave," she said simply. "Family emergency. I need to go to Mexico." Lisa stared at Katie's eyes, which were more purple than brown now. "Are you sick?" she asked. "You look strange." "Not sick," Katie said. "Just changing. I am sorry to leave without notice." Lisa nodded slowly, clearly confused but sensing something beyond her understanding. Katie left half her last paycheck saying Lisa could give it to whoever needed it most. As she walked out, Katie touched the store's dying fern by the door. It burst into green life with leaves unfurling like wings. The bus ride to Mexico City took 14 hours. Katie sat in the back trying to hide her transformation, but it was getting harder to control. Her hair now had streaks of purple that appeared and disappeared. The child in the seat ahead kept turning to stare at her with wide eyes. Children could see what adults ignored. Halfway through the journey, Katie felt a strange pull. She looked out the window and saw another passenger on the side of the road waiting for a different bus. The woman had long black hair and normal human features, but Katie could see through the disguise. She saw the blue tint under the skin, the extra joint in the fingers, the eyes that were too large. The woman looked directly at Katie and nodded a small, knowing gesture. Katie understood this was one of the others her grandfather mentioned, one of the hidden ones living among humans. They recognized each other now that Katie was awakening in Mexico City. The bus station overwhelmed Katie with sensations. She could feel every living thing around. Her every person carried a small electric field that her new senses could detect. The sick ones felt different, darker somehow. She had to stop herself from reaching out to heal them all. She took a taxi to the address she remembered from childhood. The driver kept looking at her in the mirror but said nothing. When she paid him, he refused to take the money, saying, "You have blessed my car, lady. The pain in my back is gone." Katie had not even realized she was healing him just by sitting there. The street where her grandfather lived looked familiar yet different. Her enhanced vision showed her things that had always been there but hidden. Some houses had strange symbols carved into their doors, marks that glowed faintly with purpose. Protection, marks she somehow knew. Warnings to other Andromedans that these homes were watched. An old woman sat on a porch across from her grandfather's house. The woman watched Katie approach and spoke in Spanish, but Katie understood perfectly, though she had never learned the language well. "Your grandmother told me you would come one day," the woman said. "I have been watching for 20 years. Katie stopped and looked at the woman closely. She was human, but she knew the truth. How many people had been keeping this secret? How many had been waiting for Katie to discover herself? More than you think, the old woman said, answering Katie's unspoken question. Your grandmother touched many lives here. She healed my daughter 40 years ago when the doctors said she would die. We have not forgotten. We protect Carlos, as she asked. Katie felt tears again. Her grandmother had built a network of protectors, a community of humans who knew the truth and kept the secret. She had prepared for this day, even while hoping it might never come. The old woman stood and walked over to Katie. She pulled out a small cloth bag and pressed it into Katie's hands. "From your grandmother," she said. "She gave these to many of us to keep safe. Seeds from her world. Plant them. When you are ready, they will grow into medicine. Your kind needs." Katie took the bag and felt the seeds inside pulse with life. They were dormant but alive, waiting for the right moment to grow. Just like Katie had been waiting all these years. "Thank you," Katie said in perfect Spanish, surprising herself. The old woman smiled. "You are becoming what you were meant to be, child. Do not fear it." Your grandmother faced the same choice, but in reverse. She chose to become less to fit into our world. You can choose to become more to bridge both worlds. Katie walked up to her grandfather's door, carrying the seeds and the weight of two worlds' expectations. She could hear Carlos inside, moving slowly, the sound of his human heartbeat, loud to her enhanced hearing. She could smell coffee and something else, something not from Earth. She raised her hand to knock, but the door opened before she could touch it. Carlos stood there looking at her with eyes that held decades of secrets. "I felt you coming," he said. "The plants told me." Katie stared at him. "You can hear them too?" she asked. Carlos smiled sadly. "Only a little," he said. "Your grandmother shared some of her gifts with me before she changed completely. But I am too human to hold much power. Not like you, Katie. You are perfectly balanced between both worlds." He stepped back to let her enter, and Katie walked into the house that would teach her who she really was. She did not know that in 6 months she would face the hardest choice of her life. She did not know that billions of beings were praying to their alien gods for her to save them. She only knew that she was finally home in a way she had never been before. The transformation was not just in her body, but in her understanding of the universe. Katie stood outside the small house in Mexico City, her heart beating fast. The address was the same one from her childhood memories, but the house looked older now, more tired. The garden was overgrown with plants trying to break free from their boundaries. She knocked on the wooden door and waited. The door opened, and there stood Carlos Martinez, her grandfather. He looked older than she remembered, with white hair and deep lines on his face, but his eyes were sharp and aware. When he saw Katie, his face changed from confusion to recognition to something like relief. "Katie Zara," he said softly. "You know?" Katie nodded, unable to speak. Carlos stepped aside and let her in. The house smelled of coffee and old books, just like she remembered. But now, she noticed other things, strange plants she had never seen before growing in corners. Pictures on the walls that seemed to move when she was not looking directly at them. "Sit," Carlos said, pointing to a chair. "Tell me everything." Katie told him about Vera, about the dying planet, about her blood and the enzyme. She showed him how her skin now had a faint blue tint in certain light. She demonstrated her power by touching a wilting plant and making it bloom. Carlos listened without interrupting, his face showing no surprise. When she finished, Carlos stood and walked to an old bookshelf. He pulled out what looked like a photo album, but when he opened it, holographic images floated above the pages. Katie saw her grandmother, young and beautiful, with purple eyes and blue skin. "Your grandmother left these for you," Carlos said. "She knew this day would come. She knew you would be the one." Katie looked through the images and saw her grandmother's life on the alien planet. She saw massive cities, floating in clouds, creatures that looked like dragons made of light, oceans that sang with their own music. It was beautiful and terrifying and wonderful. "Why did you never tell me?" Katie asked. "Why did you let me think I was just normal?" Carlos sat down heavily in his chair. "Because your grandmother made me promise," he said. "She wanted you to have a normal childhood. She wanted you to choose your own path without the burden of knowing. But she also knew the time would come when you would need to know." Katie felt anger rise in her chest. All those years of feeling different, of not fitting in, and you knew why. "Yes," Carlos said simply. "And I am sorry. But Katie, you must understand, your grandmother gave up everything to become human. She shortened her life by 200 years. She gave up powers you cannot imagine. She did it for love, but also for protection. Protection from what Katie asked. Carlos looked toward the window as if expecting to see something there. Not all Andromedans agreed with. Your grandmother's choice, he said. Some thought mixing our species was wrong. Some thought humans were too primitive to deserve Andromedan DNA. There were those who would have hurt you if they knew what you were. Katie felt cold, despite the warm evening. Are they still dangerous, she asked. Most are dead now. Carlos said Andromedans may live long, but not forever. The ones who remain are too weak from their dying planet to cause trouble. That is why Vera could come to you openly. The old prejudices die. With the old generation, Carlos stood again and walked to another room. He came back carrying a metal box that hummed with energy. This is for you, he said. Your grandmother's last gift. Katie opened the box, and inside was a suit made of material that looked like liquid starlight. It moved and flowed even though she was not touching it. Next to it was a small device that looked like a watch but had symbols instead of numbers. The suit will protect you when you travel to the Andromedan world. Carlos explained. Your body is changing, but you are still part human. The radiation there would hurt you without protection. The device is a translator and navigator. It will help you understand and be understood. Katie touched the suit and it responded too, her flowing up her arm like living water before returning to the box. It felt alive somehow. Aware. There is more. Carlos said, You are not the only one, Katie. There are others like you scattered across Earth, descendants of Andromedans who fell in love. With humans, you are the strongest, the most pure, but you are not alone. This news shocked Katie more than anything else. There are others like me, she asked. Carlos nodded. About a dozen that we know of. He said, They have been waiting, hiding, protecting themselves. But now that you have awakened, they will reveal themselves. They will help you when the time comes. When what time comes? Katie asked. Carlos looked serious. The time when you must choose, he said. You can stay on Earth and live a mostly normal, life-helping plants grow healing small hurts, or you can go to the Andromedan world, help them rebuild and become something more powerful than you can imagine. Katie stood and walked to the window. She could see children playing in the street. Normal, human children with normal human lives. Part of her wanted that simplicity. But another part, the part that was growing stronger every hour, wanted to touch the stars. What would grandmother want? Katie asked. Carlos came to stand beside her. She would want you to choose with your heart, he said. She chose love over power, Earth over Andromeda, short life over long life. She never regretted it. But Katie, you are not her. You are something new. You can have both worlds. Katie thought about Vera. About the dying planet, about billions of beings who needed her help. She thought about her grandmother's sister Lyra waiting to meet her. She thought about the powers growing inside her, begging to be used. I need time, Katie said. Time to think. Time to prepare. Carlos smiled, the first real smile she had seen from him. You have 6 months, he said. That is when they will come for you if you choose to go. Use that time well. Learn to control your powers. Meet the others. Like you, say goodbye to your old life. If that is what you choose. Katie hugged her grandfather, feeling his frail human body against her increasingly powerful one. She realized he would not live much longer. Maybe 10 more years, while she might live for hundreds. She understood now the sacrifice her grandmother made and the pain of loving across species. That night, Katie stayed in her grandmother's old room surrounded by strange plants and alien artifacts. She held the star pendant and felt the connection to a distant world. She was changing, becoming something beyond human or alien. She was becoming herself, complete and powerful, and needed. Tomorrow she would start preparing. Tomorrow she would find the others. Tomorrow she would decide her fate. But tonight she simply existed between two worlds, carrying the hope of both in her transformed blood.